Most people think that the quality of relationships is how well they get on. And that's just not true, because you can get on really, really well with somebody without it being what I call an effective relationship. So we can get on because I dominate you, or because I please you, or because I take a submissive role to you. But that doesn't mean we have an effective relationship when it comes to work. It doesn't mean we resolve issues when they occur. It doesn't mean we work through difficult moments. And it brought me back to something in the book. There's a model that I've developed called FARR, FARR. And it's what we do when somebody has accused us of being racist, homophobic, any of the isms. And we have that kind of initial response, which is, I'm not, and we try to justify it. There's 4 things you can do. The first one is feel your feelings. If you don't acknowledge that a part of you doesn't want that thing to be true, you're going to struggle to get through that thing. You have to acknowledge them, but you also then have to regulate yourself. So these feelings are mine. They're not facts. They're not necessarily more important than everyone else's feelings, but they're my feelings. The second thing is acknowledge and accept somebody's given you something from their experience. And this is where there's a big difference in compassion and empathy. For empathy, I have to understand your experience. For compassion, I have to appreciate your experience as you understand it. And so with A, when we go to acknowledge and accept, I'm saying, like, okay, I understand that that's how you're understanding it. I accept that something about this is uncomfortable for you. And then you say something like, I'm going to have to think about this because it would be ingenuous, or I'd be defensive if I say anything now. You then go away and you do your reflection. You go look up information, you figure out, you do not go to all your friends who agree with you that you're never these things. You don't go to the person with an identity shared with the thing you're accused of being. So if you're accused of being homophobic, you don't go off and look for a gay person and say, sure, I'm not homophobic. You go online and you think about the perspective and you find ways to understand it. You don't just go and seek ammunition and people on your side, because that's not going to work. What you're going to do is just embed your own position further. And the last thing is repair. If it's appropriate, and it's not always appropriate, you go back to the person and you say, thanks for pointing that out to me. I'm sorry. I've read up on this. I have a better understanding. Do not go back to repair with the intention of correcting them. If somebody misunderstands you, mislabels you, and through your own reflection, and I mean like honest reflection, I don't mean going and getting all your friends who agree with you reflection, then it's okay for people to have a different experience to you. But you can go back and say, I looked into it, I didn't understand it in quite as much depth. I have a different experience to you in that. However, I hadn't thought about it from that perspective before, and thank you. So you go back and you acknowledge the value of what they give you. Do not go back to correct them and win, because you're in a power struggle. So FARR, FARR, is all about feeling your feelings, regulating, acknowledging and accepting someone else having an experience that's different to how maybe you've intended or the experience you're having. Reflect as you go and you do some research. You reflect. You talk to people who will help you see through it. You don't go and talk to all your friends who agree with you, because that's not reflection. That's gathering your army so you're not wrong. And then you decide if repairing is appropriate. And if repairing is appropriate, you go repair. But make sure that you're repairing because it's good for both of you and not just for you. So repairing isn't going to prove you're the good one, to prove you didn't do something wrong, to prove you're so sorry, it was so terrible. Repairing is that it acknowledges to the person that you're a safe person to come and tell these things to. It's about giving the person an opportunity to know that you're going to take that into account. So repairing isn't about you, it's about what you're offering to the other. So FARR, FARR, is probably the best way you can deal with being accused of being something without you overcompensating by absorbing responsibility without really understanding it, or just trying to fix it so you don't seem bad, or undercompensating, which is just being defensive and stuff. At least with FARR, you've gone through a process which will open your understandings of things from different points of view. And the main trick is not to try and dominate, win, or beat the other person, or prove you're a good person. The point of repair is to actually resolve something that's between you at this point, if it's appropriate. If it's more harmful for them, or it's not really in their interest for repair, then you don't do it. FARR. Let me know if you've used any other models like this, or if you've used FARR in any situation. Share in the comments so I can get a sense of how you're using FARR.